Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Outerhaven YouTube channel. It is I GetSelious, and I'm here joined by Christopher Loren of my free company in Final Fantasy 14.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't checked out the YouTube channel, Christopher Loren and Jubilee and other members of my guild ran our first tied CCL league, and let's just say that Christopher won with impeccable skill. I'm just kidding. He won. It was a good league. I got second place my first PvP, and I fell down a rabbit hole playing a lot of PvP. And Christopher has actually made a stat sheet of the entire league of every player, what games were played, win percentages, and all the jazz with this. So I'm here to go over with that and discuss more about Final Fantasy 14 PvP as well. So one of the first things is to talk about is I want to look at is you could guide me through the website here. So help me understand, not this website, but I'm going to click my team, Floor Tank Anonymous. Hopefully it will open up. Oh, stats. There we go. Stats right here. I want to look at.
Yep.
So I believe that you made a top 5 MVP, right? You made a top 5 MVP, which is like right here. It was like
Yeah, so that's
Kalia.
the list. Yep. So
Yeah,
Callistra won MVP in the season, and you want me to walk you through essentially how this calculation works and
yeah.
what
How
the
to
stats
and
get
yeah,
into
because
it.
it's like
How is the information collected? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because it's like so MVP, like you'd be thinking, wait a second, MVP should be given to like people with the most kills. You know how the other multiplayer games based on kills, final blows, those kind of
Sure.
stuff. Keys. That's Sky.
Sure.
No insult to Sky. I love you as a brother, man. You're my homie. You got more kills. You got more kills than you. Shouldn't he be MVP? Shouldn't he got the #1 spot? Like you
No,
probably
it's
down
a
for that.
it's a great question. So, this is actually the third season we've as kind of an overview. This is the third season we've run of a Crystalline Conflict League. We ran one in the FCO I was in before. The first FC I was in when I started playing Final Fantasy, and when they
Mm-hmm.
just come out at the beginning of Endwalker with Crystalline Conflict. We joined Tides, and we decided to essentially run another one. That was one of the key points in joining was Amelia had allowed us to run our own CC event, and we knew it was going to be popular. But it just sometimes the first season's a little bit rocky because there's always growing pains with people who are less comfortable and less familiar with the mode, and that's how it always is. But once you get buy-in, it's a super successful experience for a lot of people. So at a very high level, there's 5 key factors that play into the MVP score. So if you look across here, what you're going to see is you're going to see 5 scores, and they start at the KD ratio. It's the KD ratio, the damage per second. Go over, yeah, right there, those 2 columns, and then damage
Mm-hmm.
taken per second, healing per second, objective score, and those are the 5 that make up the MVP score.
Okay.
And I'll take you through each one effectively. Um, and
Sure.
how they're calculated. Essentially, at the end of every week, so obviously we were playing on Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we would get screenshots of the final game results, and I would go and I'd plug those in to this raw data essentially table in an offline Excel sheet. And inside that table, there's hundreds of rows of, and tens of thousands of cells of, how many every single person's games
Right.
across the whole season, across the whole regular season specifically. We don't include playoffs for the MVP status.
Right.
Um, well, obviously, as you said, kills are in most games. Kills are the
The
most
highest
important
stat.
thing,
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
KD ratio. It's ultimately the person who can deliver the final blow is going to be the most important player to every team in every game. It's why Genji is so important. A good Genji is so important in Overwatch. It's why in Marvel Rivals you see Hellas and Phoenixes dominate in high elos because
Exactly.
they can do the most damage to single targets very quickly, and if they can eliminate a target off the field, well, it essentially gives your team a power play where your team can snowball and they
Snowball.
can just win the encounter very
Exactly. Yeah.
quickly. So I don't disagree with you when it comes to that, but as far as the weights are concerned, for the sake of fairness across all classes, because some classes, our goal is not to. We didn't want to create a game where if some of the stats were weighted more than others, at least for the first season, where it created an imbalance of classes people preferred to play. For example, um, Scholar is not necessarily a class that's going to get a lot of final blows, but they have a tick damage. They have a lot of dots, and they can support their teammates in other ways. They can buff damage. They can
Right.
do some decent healing, and they got some shielding. So they're a very good utility class. We didn't want to dissuade people from playing a class like that by making sure that kills were the determining factor in what was the MVP. If we
Mm-hmm.
had done that, then you'd see a lot of people start chasing playing Machinist or Dragoon, or
Or
Ninja or
your
Black
Ninja or
Mage,
Summoner.
classes
Yeah.
that can
Yeah.
right, classes that can do a lot of damage and a lot of kills very quickly.
Yeah. And
And
like, oh,
we
not
wanted to essentially avoid that.
right. Yeah. Not to cut you off. Is like also this is I would say privately in this conversation earlier. During the tides calculations, you mentioned in our Discord and the group that you were also considering tanking stats, which is really important because it's like
Right.
people don't understand like in general any team based game or hero shooter game, tanks make a very big plays in plays you know it's like taking space, making space, holding down the front line, like
Healing,
healing in
healing,
some instances,
absolutely.
yeah. And like putting those stats in consideration is also a good way to look at it because again, like Callie, friend of stream and also teammate, played mostly tank. They played Paladin, they played Dark Knight, they're a tank player. So it's like the fact that a tank player
Exactly.
was able to get MVP shows a lot compared to Sky.
For the whole
No,
season.
obviously a whole
Exactly.
season. Sky, who is mostly DPS machinist. Again, no insult to Sky, please don't hurt me. You know, all that. So it's like that. That's great. And you, Christopher Lauren, which you gave yourself a medal there. I see what you did there. Was playing a healer. You played a white mage, which you know essentially green
Right.
DPS jokingly, but you also provided tons of healing. Like seeing your stats here, like wait,
Exactly.
yeah, like 3K healing is insane. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, so to kind of follow up on that, I mean, again, it's the same in Marvel Rivals. I don't know if you're familiar with that game, but
yeah, I'm play rivals here.
when you go, yeah, yeah. So essentially, at the end of a game, they're gonna they're gonna tally up your final hits, your KD ratio, how many deaths you had, etc., how much damage you blocked, which is essentially how much damage you mitigated plus how much damage you took.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they do it all. So um, I don't know what the exact algorithm is in the background, but I've
No, no,
noticed that final hits are typically weighted more heavily than other stuff. And I don't disagree
yeah,
with that because final hits are incredibly important. But
yeah,
because it's weighted that way, it just makes sure it ensures that the best DPS are almost always going to get, and which they should in a really competitive scenario. They absolutely should because ultimately, the team can't win if kills are not ensured if kills aren't
exactly,
committed.
yeah,
So people have the people who can confirm kills on any team are almost always going to be the most important players on the team. It's why ninjas dominated CC. Like the first 6 to 12 months of the meta in CC was like ninjas aim their ultimate. I think Square Enix has nerfed the ninja ult like 3 times now because the
well,
ultimate is it was so strong. It still is very strong, but it was
oh god,
by
yeah,
far the strongest ultimate in the game because you could chain kill almost the whole team by yourself, and it made it very easy to to snowball once you had one ult because then by the time that the full team had respawned, you'd be halfway to your next ult, and it just felt like if you could just stay alive, and the other problem was that when they would go invisible, you couldn't target them. And so it was this whole mess where the class just became so oppressive to play against. They had to nerf it like 2 or 3 times. It's still a very good class, but there's just some classes that I think outperform it in middle elo play, in terms of CC. With that said, the stats
yeah,
you're looking at here, left to right, let me kind of go through
yeah, sure,
calculations in the background, how they feed into what you're seeing here. So the
mm-hmm.
length in seconds, that's just how much game time you've had. So you might see two people on the same team having different lengths of time they played. That would only happen if two different people, or sorry, if like one person had substituted for another team. You'll
Yeah,
also see people with the same amount of time who would have been on the same team, and that would happen when neither person subbed over the course of the season for somebody else. But that's essentially going to help determine all of the ratios because just taking standard if I just take how many kills somebody had, well, if somebody's games on average were 10 minutes long and somebody else's were 5 minutes long, but the person who was having 5 minute games was dominating and getting a bunch of kills, it's not fair to essentially compare
yeah,
two absolute numbers to each other. It has to be rate based. So kills, deaths, and assists, those are just absolutes, and they're
yeah,
great and all. But of course, I would assume that the more you played, the more of all of those numbers you had,
yeah, go up
regardless of
there,
how much time you played. So
right, and
objective
as
time.
yeah,
Uh,
objective time, yeah,
exactly. So DPS, exactly. DPS is essentially how much total damage do you do over the season. You don't
yeah,
see the total damage in this table. It's in the background, but
yeah,
again, it's from the like that raw data ingestion
mm-hmm,
when the our Saturday nights ended, and I would go plug into Excel.
mm-hmm,
DPS is essentially that all our KD. Let me go through KD ratio first. So
yeah, yeah,
KD ratio. This is kills plus 1/3 assists, and the reason why we did that ratio, and we might change it slightly, was because there's roughly 3 times as many assists as there are kills in any
right,
given season. We've had 3 seasons and it's been very close. almost all the time. So if you were to total up assists, I wouldn't expect you to, but they are about 3 times as many assists as there are
Right,
kills.
and
So we just did kills plus 1/3 assists divided by deaths.
right, and not to cut you
That's your
off
KD.
there. Yeah, and if anybody who's played
Oh, go ahead.
Crystalline Conflict or Frontlines, you'll notice that a lot of certain jobs and certain people just get an insane amount of assist. I played tons of CCL games. I've streamed some where I would have like I will go, let's say 1-2 or 2-0 and have like 13, 20 insane amount of assists, depending on how you play. Getting assists
Yeah,
in
exactly.
getting assists in Final Fantasy VP is just crazy. I was surprised. And as you mentioned earlier, like how consistent it is. Like myself and Sky, as Umbrega, we have like the same time, but you can definitely see the difference of impact we both play. Like clearly, you got more kills than me. I got more assists, etc. But you see, like this is how close we are. We play roughly the same amount of time, and you can see it.
Mhm.
So it's like
But then
the
look at the
the life
KD
stats. Yeah,
ratio. As he barely died, he had a 13. I think I see that correctly. A 13
30
KD
30 good day
ratio,
show
and you
exactly.
had
Yeah,
like a
two.
3.
Yeah, three
So it
point.
just
Yeah.
it's he's still able to show out and show how dominant he is. So how each of these stats work. Let me just use KD ratio as an example. I think Sky had the highest score, and then Star had the second highest
Let's
score.
check. Let's check that
So
out.
in how
Yep.
the math works here is that Sky would be assigned a 1 and the person at the bottom would be assigned a 0. And
Mm-hmm.
it's essentially normalizing the data. There's a couple different ways we've done it. We've done it rank based, we've done it normalization based. I think next season we'll actually probably do it standard, like Z scores, so standard deviations above and below a
Mm-hmm.
mean based, because I think that's probably the best way to do it over the course of long terms of data. Um,
Right.
but I mean, ultimately the results are so close anyway that I'm not gonna like I don't really poo poo
Yeah.
the deltas between them. But ultimately, using KD ratio as an example, Sky had a 13, so he'd be assigned a 1. In the background, he's getting a 1. His essentially his KD, his MVP KD score is a 1, and
Mm-hmm.
whoever's at the bottom of this list gets a 0. Everybody else gets one between a 1 and a 0, depending on how close they are to Sky. So Star, because
Yeah.
her number is about 3/4 of Sky's number,
Yeah. 10.
10 out of 13, essentially,
Yeah.
she essentially is going to get a 0.75 out of 1, if that makes sense. So her score is going to be
Exactly. Yeah.
0.75. Someone who's at half of Sky. So you see, I have the third best KD ratio in the league.
Yeah.
So, but my score was only a quarter of Sky's, so I would get like a 0.25. So you see, like there's a massive
Yeah.
drop off between Star and me. And the way
Yeah.
that this works, the reason why normalization is a good way to do it instead of rank based is because in a rank based system, it would give Sky a 1, a Star of 2, me a 3, Callistra a 4, Gawain a 5. The problem
Yeah.
with that is that a 5, mathematically, in terms of how the weights would be organized, would be 25% worse than a 4 and 40% and 66% worse than a
No, that's
3, if
very.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I
But
know
if you look
exactly.
at
Yeah.
the 3, 4, 5 are all very close to each other. So
Mm-hmm.
normalization will essentially cluster them. It'll make
Exactly.
sure that your MVP score is effectively based on a ratio of your comparison to the very top number in that class. So in that within that statistic. So I would expect Sky and Star, because they were DPS all season and they were the two best DPS all season, that they would have the two best KD ratios. They were backliners, they were well protected, they didn't have a lot of deaths, and they got a ton of kills. So I would expect that they would dominate those stats. And that makes sense at the end of the season. They had the two best, and there was a pretty big drop off because there really weren't other players that filled that role in our league that
Yeah.
had the same protection or the same healers.
Right.
So essentially
Because
in that stat, Sky gets the 1. If you go to DPS now, I think Sky and Star were also number 1 and 2 on DPS. So if you go to
yeah.
DPS and
Oh,
sort that,
actually, yeah. I
DPS
believe.
is just
Yep.
how much
Oh no,
damage you did divided by
it's
Gawain
cheap.
was
Yeah,
second.
Gawain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Gawain and Star. So when we were doing the draft, I picked Star and Gawain, and when I picked them, I knew in the back of my head that they both play backline casters. I knew it was risky because I'm a backline healer. I'm playing white
Yeah.
mage. That you know you got to have frontline on your team to have success. You've seen this. The moment the frontline
Yeah.
falls, the whole team falls apart. You see it in
Yeah.
every MOBA or any sort of arena game. Is
Yeah.
your tank goes down, the whole team gets absolutely walloped because if the other team is smart, they will just wash you very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, but what I liked about Star and Gawain is that I knew I played with them long enough. I've known them for years that I knew how much damage they could do. So putting them on my team was and seeing that they weren't being selected by other teams was it was heartening to see, disheartening for them, I'm sure, when everybody saw that they were on my team. But it was very good for me. So
Yeah,
it was nice to have that kind of DPS behind me because I knew that if I could just keep them alive long enough that we were going to win any sort of DPS battles. So again, here Sky would get a 1, or he would get the 1, and then Gawain scores about, again, call it 80% of his number. So Gawain would get
yeah,
a point 0.8. Stars right there with Gawain, so she get like a 0.79, something like that. So her and Gawain are essentially clustered. Even though she's third on the list, quote unquote, she's effectively tied for second. And I think using a normalization or using Z scores and a standardization, those are the right ways to score this instead of rank based. So
yeah. There's
um,
also, if you know another system, I believe you've probably played Overwatch 2. The placement system uses a arbitrary like weighted number. I believe that like if
mhm.
it's I
Okay.
believe if you get about on average, if you get about 10 to 12 final blows in a game, that considers you gold or diamond or like platinum.
Gotcha. They're
Yeah.
probably using it as a benchmark. They
A
have
benchmark,
benchmarked or
yeah, benchmark,
baselines
yeah, weighted benchmark,
from
yeah.
historical play.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. Yeah. Usually, sometimes they adjust the numbers here and there to get the data in the season, but that's how they like. That's how that system uses to judge the people, and that's why like
Mhm.
for all intents and
I'm sure
purposes.
they,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm sure they also actually changed that benchmark in order to get more players into higher elos to essentially
Yeah,
encourage players to keep playing. So,
right,
for
and it
example, like
yeah,
you see this a lot in games where like silver, like in season 0 or season 1, becomes like the equivalent of high gold or low plat in like season 3
yeah,
or 4 because essentially like the ranks are inflated. So the players who are good enough to only get silver, all of a sudden, even though they've gotten a little bit better, they haven't gotten platinum better, but now they're sitting in platinum because just the
the
baseline and the
benchmark
benchmark to get
exactly.
good scoring is
No,
a little bit
it's
easier. And
right. They,
that's how it is. And a lot of that is about player retention and engagement. They want you to keep playing the game, so it makes sense to slightly have a little bit of inflation in terms of ranking systems if your goal is to ultimately have people play the game. And it
no,
makes sense from a
exactly.
financial perspective.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was like they flex numbers here and there, and this is one of the reasons. Like, if in a off topic, that if you play Marvel Rivals, you may have heard the discussion that people the rank system is
E11,
whatever, but
yeah,
the people want the rank decision. They want to bring placements, bring placement
yeah,
matches because people don't like the at the end of the season in Rivals. The same thing like League of Legends to some degree. Yeah, you start at the bottom, you can be Celestial 1 in one season, and then the next season rolls over. You're back at bronze, everybody else. You're back at the bottom with the
well
homies.
the other problem is that what people theorize is that it's EOMM engagement optimized, so
Yeah,
they
yeah,
think
that's
that
another thing. Yeah,
if you stop playing after you lose 1 or 2 games, that the game in tomorrow or the next day or the next day, like whenever there's a reset or whenever there's like an algorithm reset, that it's more likely to give you good teammates to keep you playing because it knows that you'll keep playing if you win and you won't keep playing if you lose. So players quit playing after they lose a game because they want to be put with good players. And
yeah.
so
That's believe it
if
or
that's
not.
the case, I don't know how much data there is to
No,
back it up, but
no.
effectively, if
It's
that's
all
the case,
it's
it's
mostly conjecture at this point. But my hard take about EOM is like it's more mental than gameplay because it's like there are a lot of people play Rivals, but here's my honest opinion: it's a free to play game. You are not getting the quality players. Okay, you are not getting Johnny Donut. You're not getting a Johnny FaZe clan member. Okay, you're getting Johnny Donuts. That's the way I look at how I look at that stuff. Like I started,
that's a good way to look at it. It's a lot
yeah,
of fun. I like the
no,
game.
it's a fun game, but like I think that like the starting from the bottom, the whole gang's here. That's the problem with that in Rivals is that like that doesn't feel good because again, let's say Johnny FaZe Clan doesn't play for a month, he logs in, and then you're in your silver, bronze, or gold game, and Johnny
Yeah, you're
FaZe
about to
nuts.
get smurfed.
Yeah, smart. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly, exactly. So like maybe
I get it.
a placement system with benchmarks. Granted, you could always argue your rank's inflated, but at least it's like a
Right.
goalpost of knowing like this guy deserves to be here, this guy deserves to be here, and as you said, retention keeps it going. So that's a way to
Yeah,
look at the numbers.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, kind of coming back to this, as
yeah,
it pertains to this, um, because we want people to partake and
hmm,
we don't like we want it to be fair and accurate, but we also want people to want to play the game.
yeah,
There's more like you can see these first two stats are going to benefit Sky because of the class he plays and because of his skill set. So KD
exactly, yeah,
ratio and DPS essentially means because each of these weighs 20%, right? So
yeah,
that means that KD ratio and DPS are 40% of the overall MVP score. So he's the
mm,
best at two different stats, and
yeah.
he was not necessarily crappy elsewhere. He just wasn't his class didn't necessarily
His
fit
skill set, yeah,
what was going what was going to work for the total DPS. But I mean, he came in second. He barely lost, so it's not like not like he was like not
No,
getting
no,
MVP. It's just the game recognized
it's
the scoring weights just they're arbitrary to some degree. So it's just they're all equally weighted because we wanted to give other classes a chance to shine as well. And I think what you see with damage taken per second, if you go to that one, um, that here, Stig and Snock and Ale actually took the most damage per second in the whole league. But Callistra, you can see, is like fifth or sixth on the list.
yep,
But what makes Callistra impressive is that Callistra has like a good KD ratio, good DPS, good damage taken per second, good healing, and a good objective score. Like
yeah,
everything that Callistra did was good,
yeah,
and that's kind of what like um, Callistra essentially contributed in positive ways across all of the metrics, whereas Sky was ultra positive in some and then negative in others. But again, and as I go through this, you'll kind of see that. Um, it's arbitrary. We do it 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. So that way
right.
there's a chance for
It's
heal
yeah,
and tank.
it's weighted consistently. Like I'll
Right.
probably let me just do a quick. Well, I'll show it. Well, so like here, like so, like
Yeah,
I
you're fourth in assist.
yeah. I was yeah exactly. I was looking when I was looking at the stats every week and I want to see how much I improved, which made me like
I mean, you almost
more.
had more than I did.
Yeah, it's like I was looking at myself. It's like wow, I'm really contributing to the team fights a lot more. I'm getting
But if you
better.
look, just look at this for a second.
Yeah,
Callistra, Zaina, Brega, Sky. That's four people on the same team. And
yeah,
then Aid, Adelard. That was your healer, right? I think Aid was your
yeah.
healer.
Eight. Yep.
So
Hmm.
your whole team is five of the top seven in terms of assists. So that goes to show that essentially kills are what really drive success as a team. So Sky got a ton of kills. I mean, look at the kills. Look at the
Yeah,
kills between the five of you. I mean, outside of Gawain, everybody is getting killed by um, everybody. Yeah, Gawain's kind of close, but that's it. Like in terms of kills, Gawain has 63 over 60 over 20% more time. Like look at Gawain's time. Gawain played for 6,400 seconds, had
yeah,
63 kills. Sky played for 5,500 seconds and had 73 kills,
yeah.
way more kills per second. So like his outperformance is so strong that that's going to benefit him in terms of how the stats are calculated. So he gets a 1 on KD, he gets a 1 on DPS, but damage taken, well, look at his damage taken. He barely took any damage because, well, he had such a good front line and other people that were so annoying with crowd control that nobody could ever get to him. We know this because we played you guys.
Yeah.
You guys beat us, I think, 3-1 the first time, and then we
Yeah.
beat you guys 3-1 the second time. And the second time we played you, our goal was to really punish Sky. We said, we're going to punish Sky. We're going to make sure that if they're going to beat us, they're going to beat us without Sky. And I think I don't remember exactly, but I believe we were the only team who was able to kill Sky all season. I think
Consistently,
he
yeah.
was, I think all nine, no, I truly believe that all nine deaths were at the hands of our team. And it
Believe it
was
or not,
because our team,
you can check the VODs on the YouTube channel. It's all there, so you can check. Yeah, check.
it's
I have
true.
it
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Yeah,
Plug those VODs.
the
Absolutely.
VODs. But
Um,
no, but it's interesting though. Like I said, like when watching this, how you weighted it, like even regardless what role you play, because this season, to this day, I laugh. It's like, oh yeah, just like Sky and Xenia were like, oh yeah, just play Red Mage. I'll fit up your alley. And I played Red Mage, and I learned how to be more supportive utility kind of player. And it's like, oh look, I'm doing well in
But you can
assists. I'm
still have
like,
an
yeah,
impact.
you
You
can
can
make
be
an impact.
healing,
Yeah,
good damage. Right.
yeah,
There's
exactly.
there's a
So
lot of ways to impact. I would say the one thing that's really hard to quantify is, and specifically in CC, is I would say it's very difficult to quantify crowd control effects and utility
yes,
impact on the game.
yeah,
A class like Bard and Scholar make it very hard to really quantify how strong of an impact. Like for example, Zaina's Bard was very annoying to deal with.
mm-hmm,
And a lot of it has to do with being silenced and being. I mean, red mage, same thing. Red mage just
yeah.
got silenced, and I felt this a lot as a white mage. I mean, obviously you guys were targeting me. There were some games when it was
Yeah, with
just
some
kill
games, yeah, I
Chris, and
was,
that was
yeah,
it.
that,
It was we're gonna dive Chris, and I told my team, I said, look, they're gonna dive me, and that's okay. The goal is if I die, that Sky also has to die, and that you four have to be able to win the team fight against them four. And that was the goal. And I think my team did a really like ultimately we played you guys twice in the regular season and then once in the finals.
yeah,
And we won in the finals and we won in the regular season, but you guys also beat us in the regular season.
yeah,
That our strategy as it evolved on, like we had our team really bought into what needed to happen because ultimately we knew that I was going to take a ton of damage, which kind of
yeah,
leads me into damage taken per second because again, if you go back to that, you're going to see pretty much the people at the top of that list are the people who played tanks and people who played
yeah,
tanky classes. So Sig and Snock played tanks all season.
yeah,
Ale played monk. Ari played tank. Holiday played Ninja, actually, I think, and then
Yeah.
Calistro played Paladin, and then
Yeah.
Ami played Warrior for our team. So these are all literally the people at the top of this list are either frontliners or people who were just hard targeted because either they were too close to the damage at any given time. But then you see if you look right below Ami, the first
Yeah, we
non
took yeah,
kind of frontliners you
we see
see are me and
in Cali.
me
Yeah.
and Callie. So
Yeah.
and that should tell you that effectively the strategy as far as the league is concerned was once the tanks were down or once the tanks had taken like tanks are going to take damage. There's not much you can do about that. They're the front lines of the team.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
their job.
exactly. Yeah.
They're going to know. But this should tell you what the league strategy is because across the whole season, Callie and I, and we had the two highest healing per second, we took the most damage outside of the frontliners of the teams, which should tell you everything you need to know about what the league essentially meta became. It was hunt the healers, eliminate the healers, and then snowball the team. Um, and because the healers can just pump out so much heat, they can just sustain fights for. I mean, white mages are incredibly strong in this game. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
doubt that probably I would say it's probably the second best class in all of CC right now. It's been a top three
It's
class
been it's one of
since
the
literally the day that CC came
yeah.
out. It's been
Like after
amazing.
playing some CC, even the changes with the current season we're in, I feel like my personal take is white mage is within top 5 and they have always been within top 5 easy. With always been
Mhm.
it
Yeah,
feels
White Mage and Dragoon have always been in the top five. Ninja was the best class for a while, as we discussed earlier, but
yeah.
um, Ninja has always been very good. And Ninja, is even still at very high skills, is still probably I would say, at high execution levels, Ninja's probably the best class in the
Ninja has
game
insane
simply because
utility.
it's
They
just
have
so good.
insane ways of dealing with a lot of fights. It's all about like how much you know. Like I hate to say it, like it's like playing you play fighting games, Guilty Gear. It's like playing a good Faust player. A Faust will know how to use
Mhm.
every item all the time, every time. It's like playing Pachi. Right? You know, I know he's a game developer now. It's like playing Pachi. He knows what he's doing.
Mhm.
Like if you know your
Yeah.
items, you know, and that's how Ninja's literally like if you know your mantras, you can literally take people's money for free.
Yeah, Ninja is. I mean, but also Ninja's ult, which is just an auto kill, and I forget if you can kill through guard, but it used to. I don't know if it used to be.
I
I
don't.
forget exactly how the
I'm
ult
gonna
works,
double
but
check that.
essentially,
Yeah.
like it used to be that you had, I think it was 10 seconds or 7 or 8 seconds to kill someone, and if they were below half health, you used your ult on them, they died, and then it
Yeah.
reset the timer, and you could just use it again on someone who's below half health, and they would die. And it was very powerful. And now it's even, I would say it's actually not even more powerful now because of the changes to Purify.
Hmm.
Now that Purify costs MP, people are going to be a lot more MP. There's a little bit more MP scarcity. Um, and so with an MP scarcity, it means you can't burn recuperates to keep yourself above half health when a ninja is about to ult.
Yeah.
You can't do it as easily. You've one less recuperate now, assuming that there's crowd control somewhere on the field.
Right.
So to
It's
me,
it's
that's
it's a
a whole
whole
different problem because Ninja becomes even better. It's essentially an indirect buff. The changes to Purify were essentially an indirect buff to Ninja.
to a way, yeah.
Um,
Like if you played some ranked or casual CC, a Crystalline or CC recently, I noticed that
mhm,
like you notice somebody is panicking when you see them do like let's say you get hit by a stray CC ability. They panic
right.
purified and they just and then you go in on them and you finish them. They couldn't heal that time. What I've learned is just like
Exactly.
if I get hit by CC, I look if I just pay attention to someone around me, and then if someone's around me, I would rather use my barrier and then try to kind of kite away. And if that's the case, then heal because it's like I have only use Purify if you have to, because it's like if you use it, you can't heal mid fight or you can't heal in a situation. That is a such an
Yeah.
interesting opportunity cost they made in this season. Such an interesting opportunity cost,
It
like
is
internal.
very interesting. It's
Yeah,
all about min-maxing your resources, and your MP is just another resource. It's very similar to like Magic the Gathering, and like that your life is a resource. It's okay to
yeah,
burn health to essentially, uh, try to win the game. And very similar here, your MP is essentially just a resource you're using to help win the game. So you always want your MP. You don't really ever want to overcap your MP, meaning it's always regenerating in the background.
yeah,
So if you've started a team fight, it's better to actually just like burn, purify, give yourself a few seconds of essentially crowd control immunity, and then if you need to guard, you guard while your MP is regenerating. It's a very effective way to essentially guarantee that you can work in essentially five recuperates or purifies in an encounter instead of just four. So that's just one sort of kind of meta tool that a lot of people use. is making sure that your stuff is essentially it's very similar to how people do it in your optimal damage rotations and burning your OGCDs when they come up on cooldown, so that way they're always essentially cycling. You never overcap, quote
Overcap,
unquote,
yeah,
on
exactly. Yeah,
lost
it's a
damage.
yeah, it's a real thing, like to look into, like, to me trying to cycle builds on overcap, because it's like sometimes, like, I noticed the rank I'm in or play, like, I would forget I can use an extra ability because I'm worried about like using heal or something. But it's like, yeah, you always got to be aware to that. And speaking of things being attentive about, one of the things I've noticed that, like, towards the end of the season, a lot of people were racking up tons and tons of objective time. Like, towards the end,
Mhm.
everyone was like learning that, like, you want to use your front lines to like maintain space or dominate space. You kind of brawl in between, you pick your spots. Your range DPS is ranging, but you also need to push that objective. You don't want to waste fights. Or if you ever play casual crystalline or even ranked, there are times where I can win games by people just fighting over in the background, and I push the cart to the finish line. I push the crystal, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
we you saw it in the finals. Ami took our point. We were fighting, your team and I.
yeah,
We were all fighting, like,
that happened. Yep,
I don't know. I don't even know where. I don't even know where we were fighting, but
we were
I
fighting like
remember
towards
that
the back end. Yeah, yeah, we were like,
all of a
because we were,
sudden,
yeah.
all I could keep, I looked up at the scoreboard, and Ami had pushed our point all the way to 50%, and I was like, that is a genius play. I could not believe we were so hype in chat. We were like incredibly hype. But as an explanation of kind of what objective score is, this is the most evolved version of objective score we've had
Hmm.
across the 3 seasons. In the past, it used to just be how much time did you spend on the point relative to how long the game was, and then we came to realize that that stat is not a good reflection of value added objective time. When I say value added, I mean if you just stand there, there's times when you have to stand there, like
Yes.
overtime. Sure, yeah, you actually have to be on the point. I got it, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the game starts and you just run onto the point to get objective time, and then you throw away your life because the whole team can target you, the whole enemy
Yep.
team can target you. That's
Hmm.
not value added because now the points at 0%. Yeah, you got 10 seconds on the objective time, but the points at 0%, you didn't go anywhere with it, or maybe you got 5% with it, but now your team's about to get completely snowballed because you threw your life away, just to try to build up some stats. So we tried to make it a little bit more incentivized toward being a good teammate. And so it actually rewards everybody on your team for moving the point. So what it is actually it's two ratios multiplied by each other, which is
Hmm.
why the numbers look so small. But
Yeah.
put it this way. Um, the objective score is effectively how much time you spent on the point relative to the length of the game. So if you spend 1 minute on the point and it's a 3 minute game, you get a 0.33, right? One third ratio. And then it multiplies that number by the distance your team moved the point, um, divided by I think it was like the length of the game. No, it's not by the length of the game. It's by,
I'm assuming it's
I forget.
divided by the not the length of the, not because over time you probably divide it by like the
Yeah,
length of the length of the
hold
it
on. I
being
have it right.
pushed.
I
Yeah,
have it here.
because
I have the calculator here. I'm just gonna
I'm using my
right here.
math brain here too. It's like, did you divide it by the length of it being pushed on points? Like, if I was on point while it's being pushed to the
Oh,
next
it's
checkpoint.
got it. I know what it is. Yeah. So what it is it's essentially your average time on the point per game, which is, or sorry, per second,
Per second.
yeah.
Yeah.
So your ratio of time spent on the point. So essentially, how much time did you spend on the point divided by how many seconds did you play? So if I spent 60 seconds on the point out of 180 seconds, I'm getting a 0.33, and then that's multiplied by how much distance your team in total has moved the point divided by how many games your team has played. Because obviously, sometimes you can play 3 games, you go 3-0. Sometimes you play 4 games, you go 3-1. So what I mean by that is, if your team it's essentially the average distance your team moves the point per game. And the reason why that's important is because that's the component that incentivizes you to actually move the point as a team. So, for example, let me use Ami as an example. Our team, we essentially had 4 people who wanted to behave like frontliners. Yeah, 3 of us were playing backline positions, and then we had AL, who was kind of our frontline monk.
Yeah.
And we would say, Ami, you're gonna if we ever push off point and push forward to kind of keep them away, your job is to stay on the point. And
Yeah.
I wanted to figure out a ratio that rewarded all 5 players. I wanted to figure out a ratio that was going to reward the player who's on the point the most, but also reward all 5 players because all 5 players have a hand in that point moving forward. The four
Yeah.
people who pushed up, they're essentially defending to try to keep they're on offense trying to keep the other team back, and Ami's in the back line pushing the point up. So it's a whole team effort. So having both those components in there, it rewards both players who spend the most time on the point on good teams. In other words, teams that push the point far every game, because ultimately that's the objective of the game. You want
Yeah.
to win. You need to win the game. The game is not about getting kills. Kills are
Y-
probably the best way to get wins, but someone's also got to move the point. I play in plenty of I'll play in plenty of lobbies with really good players, and everybody wants to be him. Everybody wants to be that guy,
Yeah.
and you know they just want to go and they want to be everybody wants to push forward and no one wants to play the point. And
Exactly.
when that happens, guess what? You lose. And the whole point of the game is not it's not to get kills, it's to win the game.
No,
The
100%.
kills are the easiest way to the kills are the easiest way to get to that point,
It's
but
yeah.
someone still has to move the point.
No, exactly. Like
And
you can like
people
there are
lose
tons.
sight of that.
Yeah, exactly. There are tons of games where, like in any multiplayer game or the CC, like your team could outperform the other team in kills, in assists, in healing and damage, but you still
You
lost because
lost.
A, you C9'd yourself, B, you didn't push the point to where it's supposed to go. Like there
You
there
lost sight of
was
the objective.
exactly, yeah. Like
This isn't a
recently,
team deathmatch.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the things I love about Crystalline Conflict is like there is element of team deathmatch, but that is so like you can't that can't be your only driving factor. Like,
Right.
uh,
I mean, Sky was second in MVP, great player,
mhm.
amazingly skilled, crystal level talent, probably even higher if he wants to commit to the grind. But because now that they've released the Omega and Ultima
Yeah, yeah,
kind of above crystal, like he could get there,
yeah. I'm
but he
pretty.
didn't win
Yeah.
MVP and his team didn't win the whole tournament. And that's no shame to him. It's just that's the reality is the just because you're the best at getting kills does not guarantee that you're going to be the one who wins the game at the end of the day because a good team and a focused team often is going to be more effective than a super talented single player. And I think that's a testament to the game mode itself because I would hate if you could just get carried by one player the whole time. That's no
No, no.
fun
I
for
think
anyone.
that to me that's like one of the killing points. I feel like multiplayer game design. Like a lot of them, like just generally says, okay, this guy's good at clicking heads, and this guy's good at hitting the cooldowns. The game doesn't matter anymore. That doesn't feel good. Be-
That's actually my biggest worry about 2xKO is that you could have some absolute scrub and then they die real fast and then their teammate tags in and just absolutely dominates.
Well, that's kind of what's going. I already anticipate that's going to happen. I have because it's like it depends how much comeback factor the game
But then
has.
the scrub gets carried. I don't know how the MMO is, or sorry, I don't know how the
Then
MMO is
MMR,
gonna weight
yeah,
the
maybe
match.
maybe maybe
MMR, yeah,
maybe
exactly.
maybe they'll like divide it in half or how much you did. Like maybe it'll like how much damage you did. But that's
Yeah,
that's a future
I'm
thing. Yeah,
sure that they're gonna account for it, but but they're still gonna get credit for the win. So
yeah,
even if you play an infinite amount of matches, eventually you can get. I assume you can get carried to uh,
a high
super high
rank.
elos by just paying, essentially pay to win. There will probably be like boosters, like booster players who are like, yeah, I'll just boost you to the highest rank if you just like pay me a couple $100
Oh
and
God,
I'll
that
partner up with you for a
I
few
swear to
hours and I'll
God,
just dominate rank.
you're reminding me of like all the scams that happened years ago from League of
I can see
Legends
it
and
already. It's a free
Overwatch.
to play
Yeah,
game. I can see it. I can see it
like the
already. That's
boost, like
absolutely going to
God, the
happen. It'll be a
boosting.
way that people make money because it's a you download a free to play game, you get really good at it, and then you sell your skills to somebody who wants to just rank up on their account even though they're not good at the game. I could absolutely see that. You see it in
Yeah,
every game, so I can see it
true.
in this one for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of boosting,
Sadly.
the one stat I wish it was more boosted was so this the last towards the end of the CCL league and the current like season in uh current season PvP in 14, I've noticed that like I've been playing a lot more Sage. I've tried playing Scholar a bit, and I kind of wish there was a stat that tracked barrier healing because I feel like when I hit that sick
No,
Numa, I don't know how that's
I don't
tracked.
know for sure, but I think shielding. I think they've announced it in the past in one of the patch notes. I'll have to check on this, but I believe shielding is actually it wasn't at first, but I believe shielding is considered healed damage. I
Okay.
believe it is immediately
Yeah,
considered
because it's
healed
like
damage. So I
this is
think
like
provided shield is considered healing. But what I will say is that a lot of those shields are not as potent as just normal heals in this game, which is why you see the pure healers do way more healing, generally speaking. But Sage has plenty of damage, and Sage is a great class. I just think White Mage is very strong, because White Mage can do everything. It has crowd control, it has damage, it has the ability to secure kills with a lot of burst damage with its ultimate combo, and on top of it all, it can do insane healing. So,
no, no, no. It's
you
it's
know,
you know it's a fun class. I like it because of that. But it's like a part of me kind of wish it was a barrier track stat because I feel like
Mhm.
like that barriers provide some utility and I like to see it. Like the
You're
same
essentially
way.
providing extra help, temporary
Yeah,
help.
yeah, provide, yeah, provide, exactly. Because I know, like, I'm not gonna say this class is broken. This class called Gunbreaker that just never dies, keeps adding barriers on itself, and they like would they
Gunbreakers are insane.
and they decided to we're nerfing Gunbreaker. The follow up to Faded Circle now lasts like 2 seconds. You get heavy for 2 seconds and three. Me, is that really a nerf? Is that really a
No,
nerf, guys? Okay. Anywho,
no.
I don't feel it. I'm not feeling it. But if you guys let me know in the
Yeah.
chat if you feel there's a nerf, but it does. But generally, though, I kind of that's my personal wish. Like maybe is there any stats you wish the 14 PvP track that you can keep track of? But without you want to
I
see like
I wish I wish there was one for something to do with crowd control to quantify the the essential impact of classes, like like the utility impact
yeah.
and the control impact that bards and red mages and even white mages to a degree can have on a game. I think that's a stat that I think is missing from. I don't
I
know. I don't even know how you would do it, but
I think
it's such an important stat because crowd control is so strong in this game. And
oh
once
my
you're
god,
stunned,
I
if the
think they
other
could
team is
track.
focused on you, you're dead. There's nothing you can do.
I think I figured out how they could track it. Okay, so they could track it based on like so they would have to probably look into the skill of the game and look at certain skills that does the CC effect, stun, sleep, silence, etc. Right, all that.
And just
They
count
look
how many seconds that the other team was impacted by your buttons. Yeah.
exactly count the timer hit by them, and you can count killed by CC. Like if you did a kill based on that, or like time
Mhm.
or CC whiff, such as you did the skill and it did nothing, which you could look like, yeah, you were just hitting. Like you need to learn not to hit like a resolution every time you see it up. That's not. This is my tip to all red mages.
Right.
Please do not hit it on cooldown. Learn to space it out. Okay, space it out. Space it out in your burst. That's my tip to all red mages. And that's how I got second place. I'm not joking. I'm not. That's actually my tip. I got second place. I learned how to space it. That's it. Like maybe don't hit it when you see it. Maybe
I mean,
don't.
cycling your cooldowns is very important, so you always have buttons available. That's pretty much true on most classes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
And then being ready for your burst window when your super comes up, always
Exactly.
important as
Yeah.
well.
The only thing I wish
But yeah,
for,
so that's
yeah.
I was
Oh,
gonna
I
say
was.
that's pretty
Oh,
much
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
all of the math. And ultimately the MVP score is just a weighted average of those five stats. I mean, the other stats are there for, in case you want to look at that stuff. And down
Yeah.
bottom there's a dynamic graph that you can check
Oh,
the
yeah.
filters
Yeah.
and
You can look
they
through.
put
Yeah.
X axis, Y axis on the, to try to see who's good at what and see
Exactly.
who's, Pythagorean, who's got the furthest distance from the origin and
Exactly.
who's the
Yeah.
highest
And I.
performing talent. So
Yeah. And I was gonna say I want to thank you for doing that. And I was like the only like I was say as a red mage player, as I'm getting killed in my own limit break now because people target me. It's like, can I get the heal first for the damage, please? But that's just me. But it's just me. Do not cast your limit break when people see you. Try to be sneaky with
you
it,
don't
please.
realize how important a healer is in this game mode until you play in a high skill lobby without a healer, and then you realize, wow, it's a stark difference. The fights end so
Bro.
fast,
Okay.
and
I've
like the
oh,
difference is night and day.
with there's a new update, and the new update you duo queue, and
Mhm.
I play with Sky, so I'm assuming the matchmaking kind of uses higher skill players, and I'm like, I play Sage in those games, and then every fight I die with Sage, I just watch the enemy team go like, "Do, do, 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 do." I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. Once the healer's down, the whole team is fallen. It's simple
exactly.
as
I've
that.
seen so it's like I've seen that, and the opposite end, you kill the healer means just rubbing your hand like I guess it's time.
Yeah, you can just roll the other team so fast. I would say in duo queue, there's such an advantage bringing in either a melee or a tank and a healer. Like if you bring in a dragoon and when a white mage, you're gonna usually stomp your lobbies. Or if you bring in a paladin and a white mage, you're gonna stomp your lobbies. Like or a good gunbreaker and a white mage, you're gonna. I mean, you could roll a lot of lobbies because a lot of people are queuing up as ranged. So the more people who queue up as ranged, the less likely you are to have a healer and a melee on your team. So if you can guarantee that you have the frontliner and the healer on your team by queuing in as the frontliner and the healer, you stand to essentially dominate most of these lobbies in the duo queue.
Okay, that's cool to hear. I guess I guess
Just interesting theory crafting in terms of how you want to queue. Because I know that Square Enix, their queue is just let's just grab the first 10 players that are in queue,
yeah,
or
exactly.
something like that, that like meet certain class requirement criteria. I don't think they're trying to do skill based in the casual lobbies. So
No, no, no.
very
I also
interesting.
I've also noticed that like this season and last season, for ranked gameplay, you have to go to another server to play. This is my first time doing that. Was that something that was done in the
It's
past
been
and
that
stuff?
way for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Have
no,
you
it wasn't always this way. I would say the first couple seasons of Crystalline, it wasn't like that. I forget when they changed it, but I think it was toward the back half of Endwalker, and then um, they started just cycling through each of the data centers to host ranked. So that way, if you, because I think the ranked lobbies were dying. I want to say there was like a bout of cheating at one point that people were getting tired of, so they just stopped playing ranked.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and casual lobbies are just honestly, there's a lot of skill in casual lobbies.
Yeah, there is.
I know
There
that
is. I
at
learned a
least on
lot.
when CC first came out, like all the best players were in casuals because that's where all the best players were. Like once they had gotten their ranks in Crystal, they just stopped grinding. There was just no more point. They had all the rewards. They just played casual because the queues were quicker and they liked the game mode and they were trying to get their achievements. So um, there was a lot of skill in the casual lobbies too. So just because you're not playing ranked doesn't mean you're not playing good players. That's what I'll say. Because if you get paired up with some, you can get paired up against some nasty
Yeah.
players
Uh,
in casuals. And Crystal has a lot of really, really, really talented players.
yeah,
Like
like
there's a player I think one of my friends said we used to play against Tapeworm a lot, and Tapeworm is on Crystal. I don't know if they're still on Crystal, but I think they went to the regional finals to go to the Las Vegas tournament. Like, I think they were in the finals or the semifinals to almost go to Las Vegas, which is like to play CC in front of Yoshi P
wow.
at FanFest, which is crazy. They were the best gunbreaker I've ever played against, but they're probably one of the, at least in my experience, one of the three or four best players I've personally played against. Insanely good player, um, but uh, you know,
No, no, it's cool. No,
they
it's cool to
apparently
hear.
they were not good enough to go to FanFest, which is crazy. It just tells you there's a lot of talent out there in this game.
No, no, 100%. Like I was gonna relay that recently, like you probably like if you call like I give you stinks for just like my skill from my first you watch me my first game to the finals, like how improvement I made, etc. And the team I was with her, like I was grinding a lot casuals, and I found a fellow person who plays red mage. I had him as a friend, and they were a crystal level player, and they gave me tips of how to like
Yeah,
do red mage combo properly, how to use
awesome.
embolden properly. Like embolden has two windows where there's a window for the damage buff and a window for you can cast the spell. And it's like be sure to make sure you care about not the spell window, the buff window, so you can get the damage in. And I
Right.
never noticed that.
Exactly.
And I was like, holy snap, that's really cool. And I gotten better at
A
it.
lot of the theory crafting, yeah, no, a lot of the theory crafting is very similar to how the PvE theory crafting works in terms of the rotations. There are deterministic rotations that do, but of course, because you're getting the crap beat out of you, it's never going to be perfect, and you're going to get crowd controlled and silenced and stunned. That's just how it works. So you have to figure out ways to still find your combos and be safe, get out your damage, while also keeping yourself protected, which makes it's very exciting. I think that's what makes it very fun.
Yeah, so it's like I really, like I said, thank you and Start Kicking Tides for making the CCL. I really love PvP now. Like, if you guys haven't
Yeah, no,
known,
I'm glad to hear it, but yeah,
yeah,
we really love it, and we're gonna have a season two here. We don't know the exact date, but we're talking with leadership and Tides right now. So actually, that's where I'm going right after this call. So I'm gonna talk
that
with them and try to figure out like a schedule for the upcoming season, and then um, hopefully we have even more participants, and I think it'll be another successful season.
yeah, and hopefully we can get the other maps to turn off the gimmicks. I hate look I have nothing against the other maps in the game. They're fun. I just now I'm playing them like not playing them. It's like I hate you, map. I hate you so much. Please can you get these gimmicks off, please. Like
Yeah,
the
as it
fire
is
map.
in most games, I don't like any randomness inserted into a game that's supposed to be about skill. That's why we only play the Palestra. We will probably, I mean, you can turn arena events off, but sometimes the maps are so small that it benefits certain classes. I think Palestra is a really nicely balanced map. This new map is pretty small, but there's pockets where it's a little bit more open. There's pockets where it's tight. It gives a little bit of variety of how to approach,
Oh
and the
God,
new
yeah. I
map is
want.
exciting in that way.
That's what I
So, and
wanted to ask.
there's no map gimmicks.
Oh, I wanted to
So
ask you about
there's
that. Do
excitement in
you
that way.
do you have
Yeah.
to be in Dawn Trail to unlock the map? Because I haven't played on it yet. I don't know if you have to unlock
I
it.
actually have no idea.
Yeah, I
I
don't know
have no
either. So
idea.
I watched the PvP tournament, and they were playing on the new map and playing whatever was a fun. Shout outs to Gitson, the rival community. They put a
Yeah.
tournament that was really fun to watch, and I was like, I want to play on this map, and I never gotten it yet. So I was like, if I have to be on Dawn Shell to unlock it, I guess I have to get off my butt and beat Endwalker because it's. By the way, it's your fault. I have to beat Endwalker. Yeah.
I don't think you do. I would assume it's completely free to play as if the game mode is part of the free to play experience, the map is in rotation in casual queue multiple times a day. So I can't imagine that they would lock out free to play players for
Okay, fan,
some for certain primetime hours when they're rotating that map in. That would just
cool.
wouldn't make sense to me. I don't think that wouldn't be a very smart like financial decision anyway. So
Oh
I
no,
can't
no.
imagine that they would even
Oh yeah.
spend the time trying to program them.
I
To me,
never
it seems
played on it
like,
yet, so I was worried about it. I never got a chance to play it yet with
gotcha.
my grinding. And like I
Yeah,
said,
it's really good. It's essentially just a no gimmicks. There's no randomness. There's no map events. It's got tight corridors. It's got a couple open spaces, and then it's a pretty short map too. It's pretty cool. It's very exciting. The fights happen immediately. The point unlocks almost immediately, if I recall. It's like 10 seconds till the point unlocks, or
Jesus, what
15
a
seconds.
they making
It's
maps
yeah,
faster. You
it's
know what?
can't.
You know what? We if we have a chance, maybe later in the future, you and I can, or we could make a scrim and try that map. I like the idea of a faster map. I want to see how crazy you can get. I want to see how
Yeah, because I mean, the strat on Glacier was playing very defensive, waiting for the other team, and
it's
then popping as soon first opportunity at your preferred focus target.
yeah.
That was when you took the first engagement.
Believe it or not, I blame you. I actually love that waiting period. I love doing that in maps now. I love that.
It's so exciting.
It's
We would stand in the corner and just emote on each other.
oh my god! But that sounds fantastic. And before I let you go, for your thing to do, okay, thanks for running PvP, Celine, you and Starcake, and the rest of the sides. I want to ask, and I blame you for. I also blame you for not. I'm not finishing Endwalker now because of you. Like I need to finish Endwalker, but this PvP stuff got me.
As you do.
Uh,
The
do
story is
you?
amazing.
What do you have any predictions or like any classes you think that's like going to be a sleeper pick for anyone who's watching this or a PvP fan? Do you think anybody is a any class
Mm.
sleeper pick besides Viper? By the way, Viper is a terrorist. I'll leave that. That's my opinion.
Viper is very good now, but I would say I think I've always thought that Paladin has been a top 5 class in this game, even since season 1. The ability to cover somebody for 10 seconds while you're also invulnerable is pretty much unmatched. And you get it. It's the longest ult limit break in the game, a 2-minute cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
But the class itself offers a little bit of everything, and it's gotten buffed multiple times since season 1. I just think it does decent damage, but that's not why you have a paladin sitting there. You have a paladin sitting there because the paladin is just annoying as hell. It's like just having like a Magneto in Marvel Rivals that just
God,
soaks damage and
it's so
he's standing there and
consistent.
it's just so annoying to deal with.
The crazy thing about like Magneto and Paladin, they have ways to soak up and still stand in your face. They cast their
Yeah.
Shelltron. They can dash at you.
Yep.
If you break their Shelltron, well, I guess you're in trouble now. It's like it's just it's a very sticky class. I don't think it's the most
Yeah.
flashy compared to like Warrior or Gunbreaker or even Dark Knight, but yeah,
Mhm.
I agree with that. Paladin is the Magneto of the
And I don't know,
classes.
I wouldn't necessarily call Black Mage a sleeper, but it's not played a lot.
No, it's not.
Right. I
No.
find Black Mage, I think personally, the opinion that I've always held is that Black Mage is the best class in this game. Um, Specifically in PvP, it was the worst when they came out in the Yoshi P. Like they like giga buffed it, and then he actually had to apologize because they giga buffed it so bad, and they like nerfed it to hell. But they didn't nerf it; they barely nerfed it at that
No,
point.
no, no.
And it's the the amount of time, like your uptime and your ult is so high, and the amount of damage that you can put out in your ult, and now the importance on crowd control, and Black Mage has so much crowd control. Um, the importance of Purify now, burning like Black Mage is essentially the best class at burning MP in the game, and MP is the most important resource in my opinion in high level play. So once you're out of MP, you have no way to win a team fight, especially if the other team is smart about stealing potions and keeping potions on cooldown, because now you have no resort other than to retreat or to fight and die. I would say Black Mage, Paladin, and then I would say probably Scholar. I think Scholar is very underrated because it provides a damage buff and a speed buff. And those are skills that in every game, if everybody had 10% more damage on your team and they were able to take advantage of that small window where they had a damage buff, you should be able to sweep every team fight, all else equal. So, Scholar. So I would say Scholar, Paladin, and Black Mage. Yeah, those are my 3 sleeper
that's
picks
that is
for
good to
very good
hear.
classes that don't get the credit they deserve.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear because I'll probably show you later, but I have a clip of myself like legitimately making a legit like reversal on the enemy team with just Black Mage. I was just
Yeah,
hitting
it's
and Black
it's
Mage,
crazy.
yeah, and Black Mage
No
and
class can do what Black Mage and Ninja. No
Yeah.
class can do what they can do.
No, and it's crazy because I've noticed that within this season, before I let you go, Black Mage has the ability to like just gain limit break faster and faster now. They just churn that butter like crazy. But oof,
Well,
man, before
I don't know if there's damage tied to it. I think it's all timer based, but
it's
still, it's
timer
only a
based. I
1 minute
thought, oh my
timer.
god, I
Black
thought it was
Mage has,
damage. Oh my god.
but if you're alive, it continues to charge. But White Mage and Black Mage, and there's a couple other classes have the fastest charging ults in the game. So actually, Reaper might be slightly faster than
Reaper, I
all of
think
them.
Reaper's very dependent on limit break. Very dependent. To
But
get their
I
combo
don't
going.
think
Yeah.
the Reaper's ult. I mean, Reaper's ult is good for overtimes because you can force people off the point.
Yeah.
But I don't personally find Reaper to be all that. I mean, I've played good Reapers; they're awesome players. But you can get more value out of other classes like Dragoon. I just think is just a better class because it
Well,
does it
yeah.
doesn't do crowd control, but it does everything else better in my
I think
opinion.
also
So
too is that Reaper is dependent on the harvest buff mechanic to provide the finishing killing blow that needs to be done. They need to get they have to get I forgot that mechanic they have. They get them like enough assist or kills and they hit the harvest attack and that does the KO for them.
right,
They're very
but
dependent on that
to
mechanic.
me,
Yeah.
to me, Dragoon is strong, and like these other some of the classes are just strong because they don't need a teammate to
Right.
do what they can do.
Right.
Like for example, Dancer, great class, and they can do
Hmm.
like a really good Dancer. I've seen good Dancers dominate
Yeah.
games, but I just feel like the Seduce ultimate outside of when they're spinning and trying to do damage, which I've seen hit or miss in super high skill lobbies. Like I've seen that move get completely whiffed, and they just get absolutely dominated. There's not much you can do on like once you're seduced, obviously, but you need a teammate
The follow up.
to
Yeah.
follow up like a Dragoon. But my thing is Dragoon is just good on its own. The Dragoon doesn't need the Dancer as much as the Dancer needs the Dragoon. That's
No,
kind of what
no,
I'm getting at.
100%.
And so like I
Yeah,
just think there's
it's
some classes that just are they're kind of just ignored by Square
no, no,
Enix in
it's more like how
respects.
much utility you need to do extra work. Like again, you play more rivals, you played Overwatch. Like Jeff the Landshark. You need a lot of work to make Jeff the Landshark super strong. You need a lot of work to make
Yeah, he can
Ultra.
be good.
Yeah, he can be good. Yeah,
Well,
I mean
I actually
he can
saw a
swap.
video of him 1v1ing an Iron Fist, and it was
Yeah,
like
yeah, it's
unreal.
crazy. Yeah, yeah, he could
He's
DPS.
it's great.
He could
He's
swallow he
crazy.
could swallow like six dudes and like and win a team
Yeah,
fight.
his ult is essentially an overtime winner, but
But the
in
amount
high
of
elo
like again,
lobbies
the
when everyone's
utility
flanking and stuff, it's
like you could
hard to
pick
get
Jeff
value.
for that, or you could just get a consistent Luna Snow or Susan, Invisible Woman for that. Again, it's all about it's all about how people protect powers in this game as a balance it is, and that's
Yeah,
another reason.
Luna's busted.
Yeah, Luna's busted, bro. Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why I like.
They made Blade's kit just to counter her ult because her ult
And
was
by the way,
so
it's
so
still not
good.
enough. I'll go into that later. It's still not enough. It's still not enough. But like, I'll let you go with this. But that's like one of the reasons why I love CC and Final Fantasy PvP. Like, there's a lot of classes in this game, a lot of jobs in this game do good work, and very few of them ever feel like I go like, wow, this is a weak class. Like all of them have some
Right.
utility, maybe depending on
Sure.
someone else. But Crystalline kind of makes a very unique like team dynamic. Like I usually play in games like I usually play a support class, maybe tank, and I play red mage, and I felt the impact of every silence I hit, every stun I hit, every emboldened combo I set up for my team to set up damage within a burst window. That felt really, really good, and that's why I love this mode so much. And I blame you for getting me addicted to it. Again, I should finish Endwalker, but I'm probably gonna log back to PvP in like 10 seconds and this is over. So it's probably again this
Right,
is
PvP
Crystal.
is always a good time. So
Yeah, it's always
the
a good
queues are
time.
always better when everyone's in them. So
Exactly, but yeah, this is Christopher Loren. Kind of helps to tie CCL conflict. This is GetSelious signing out. I'll see you guys in the next one. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell as well if you know for next time, and check out the PvP VODs that's located on the YouTube channel. I have the entire Tide Season 1 CCL from my perspective and six perspective there, so you can watch every match from everyone's perspective. All essentially that's everyone's perspective. You can watch it from there. So that's really cool. And you can also check out, hopefully, as Chris alluded to, we'll have a season 2 soon. So when it happens, I will let you guys the first to know. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye, everyone.